Hello, my name is Baran, and I like to call myself a business designer these days, actually, for the past 6, 7 years. And it's not a profession, it's not really a proper title, but I like to call myself one. It's because it's where my journey has led me to become, in my opinion. So I just want to tell you more about my journey, and you be the judge and let me know if I'm a business designer. So imagine when you were a kid, everybody was asking you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my answer was always like, I want to be a mechanical engineer. Because my mom had a business major, my dad has a civil engineering major. I figured if I become a mechanical engineer, we would just go start a factory and we would just take over each part of the business, which was a romantic and nice thing. But as I grew older, I learned about car design and I came across this. This is the SLK designed by a Turkish designer called Murat Günaki. Later on went on to design other very beautiful and very iconic cars. And he was an industrial engineer. So that's what I wanted to become. I want to become an industrial engineer and start designing cars. But unfortunately, that didn't really turn out the way that I wanted to. I ended up earning a place in the mechanical engineering school, which is one of the top schools, but it wasn't really what I wanted. But during the school, I get to pick to become an automotive engineering minor, which was great because I really got into the mechanics of the cars and I decided that I wanted to be a race engineer. And by the time I graduated, I looked up online and I realized that there was one school in the UK which had a program called motorsports engineering. So I figured if I go there and they would accept me because I was street racing and spending time with teams a lot, they would just accept me and I would become a professional race car engineer, but it didn't really work out today the way that I wanted, and they rejected me. So I figured if I cannot do this as a profession, I would just make a lot of money and do this as a hobby, right? And so I decided to go to money making school, which is an MBA. So I found myself in University of Buffalo, in Buffalo, New York. I started my MBA. And funny story that points, I didn't really realize it back then, but really changed my life. At this time, this glass building was just being constructed. And on the second floor, there was a new office, and it was going to be the first office of the entrepreneurship program. And I was the first graduate assistant of that program. On one hand, I was looking at curriculum and just trying to figure out what the curriculum should be like. On the other hand, I was going through furniture catalogs, trying to figure out how the place should look like. Little did I know that I was bitten by the entrepreneurship bug back then. But what happened after MBA, I went to the money-making route. So I started consulting. First, I started with Accenture, and then I moved on to Osensi Strategy, and then to Deloitte, and back to Osensi Strategy. And I was actually pretty good at that. It wasn't anywhere near what my dreams were as a teenager, as a kid, as a person in my 20s, early 20s. It was nowhere near what I envisioned, but I was pretty good at it and I was enjoying it. But at some point, I came across a book. Actually, I didn't come across a book. I came across a blog post, which was mentioning a book, and I started digging into it. And it was this book, and the whole concept was business model innovation, business model design. What I realized was it kind of rekindled old ambitions. It was talking about design, but on the strategy and business concept, which is my previous dreams combined with what I'm currently good at. And while reading the book and thinking about it and trying to figure out what I want to do in life, I started putting together a concept. I realized that the methodologies that were preached in this book at the time was nowhere near what my clients on the strategy side was asking from me. And it was totally opposite. They would never touch a business model canvas at that time. But I realized that some people would because I actually started working with small businesses of my friends and etc. And I started applying the methodologies and the thinking in this book to their business, and I saw that it's working actually. So a concept started evolving, which later I called the black sheep. So I figured not a lot of people, not a lot of companies would want to go to the business model innovation, business model design route, but some would. And those black sheep would be the game changers going forward. Little did I know that those black sheeps are called the startups at the time. I just thought they would be businesses. I didn't really care if it was big or small or medium size or whatever. But I realized that if I invested on these methodologies, invested on myself doing and working with these methodologies, I could be the black sheep coach. And so I started my journey. I started with Business Models Inc. I was doing a lot of business model innovation, vision design coaching, and I did achieve a dream. I was featured as a TEDx speaker. And then I realized that business design alone is not enough sometimes for big companies, especially in my market. So I decided I want to combine the red ocean strategies of analytical strategy planning with the new things that I'm learning with business design, strategy design, and I founded Betacorp. At the same time, I started an internet venture with my co-founder, which eventually became an open innovation accelerator. So this has all happened during the period of the last 6-7 years, but I realized that when I started with Business Models Inc., I just turned overnight because everything that was about the design methodologies were just second nature to me. It was what I grew up with, only forgot when I was into more structured businesses. So right now we're in 2022, early 2022. I still feel like I'm starting out, and I felt like I've been starting out for the past 6-7 years. That's because I'm achieving so much, but there's still a long way to go. As I said, it's a journey. And thinking about it, yes, have some decent amount of experience, but thinking about the experiences that I will have as a business designer going forward, what I've had today is nothing. So I still feel like I started every day.